Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel. With me, JB. I hope we're all doing really well this evening. A little bit later than what I normally do. Last couple of days I've been doing a couple of streams a day purely because there's been a lot of bits and bobs out there. But today I thought I'd wait and wait for the press conference, the Amorim conference to come out, and then kind of do a roundup this evening. I nearly wasn't going to do a show this evening, just summer term madness, so it just means I have to chop and change in the things that I do. So I hope we're all doing really well this evening, whatever you are doing, whatever you are at. It's Friday night. I wish I could say that on a Friday night I'm having a drink, but I'm currently with a bit of a green tea. So I hope we're all doing really well this evening. So what I wanted to do, kick off really today, is kind of look at where we are, look at transfers, look at what's come out today, all the little bits and pieces that have come out about various players. And I think one of the first things I am going to say on this, what we've been saying here for a very, very long time, certainly this is what I've been saying, is that we need to be very careful of the spin from this club, and we've been saying for the last couple of days, particularly in I think the middle of the week, it was missed quite a bit actually by David Ornstein. So David Ornstein, if you don't know who he is, he gets a load of stuff off of the club. He's very respected in what he does, and he's very good. I'm not disputing anything that he does in regard to that. Now, he did an interview, and there's a podcast as well, about how he started to allude to this whole that United are doing business and they're doing really well, and there's other teams haven't been doing very, very well, and we may do stuff in the January window. So that started to come out. Now, as for me, it's the first sign of spin. And then, of course, we get to today. We get to the Amorim conference. Now, that's been out there all day, so I'm not going to basically pick. I'm going to pick the bones out of it. I'm not necessarily going to pick the bones out of it. I'm just going to go through some of the highlight stuff that I think is worth us having our two penneth on, and discussing what we think about that. And there's some other bits and bobs as well that's come out of that. There are going to be some other bits here and there, and then again it's going to be taking our time over this. Now, first thing to say, there are no transfers this week. We're not looking at anybody. So that's one of the first concerning things for me is the fact that we're not actually talking to anybody. Or we are in talks, I guess, but that's with Aston Villa. One of the first things to say, and that's really actually quite embarrassing, to be honest with you, that we pretty much inquired to loan. We basically inquired to loan Emi Martinez. Or Watkins. So we're looking for two proven Premier League players, and we can sort of discuss that as well, because the financial thing now I think is starting to kick in a little bit as well. So Amorim, let's cover that off. So I think there's quite a bit on this one. Now, Mark Harris, who comes in the chat quite frequently, he's a legend of the chat already, and his viewpoint, I don't want to speak for him because he's probably not in the chat now, but he is a legend of the chat. And just to give you an example of, we go through this and he has his views and some really good views in it, but Amorim for him is not the guy. I'm sort of on the fence. Now, after this conference and sort of what's come out today and what Amorim said, I mean, I now have my worst fears have basically are starting to come to fruition. So I've always said all along, if Amorim comes out and says he's happy with this squad, and there is a little bit I think which probably missed, but I'll go through that. But overall, overarching this whole thing, Amorim has come out and basically said that he's happy with the squad, and if he had to start the season with this squad, then he's okay with that. Red flag for me, number one. And then the second part to this for me was I didn't want Ruben to have an excuse of if he gets sacked and he didn't get his players, then he's got an excuse. I don't want to sit here and go, I'm not happy with this squad. Ruben can only do what he's done, and then he gets sacked, because I want a manager to be sacked because his tactics are no good. What he can't. He's got his players, but he can't get his players to perform. That's where I am at on this one. Oh, there are two parts to the conference. Number one, he basically said that he's happy with his current squad. So if he went into this season with his current squad, then he'd be happy with it. Now, is that towing the party line? I don't know. What else can he really say on that? I mean, can he really be happy? Can Ruben? This is a question I want to put out there. Really, can Ruben really be happy with this squad? So not having a striker, in Cunha and in Burma are good players, but ultimately he's been asked to basically shine a turd up. Yeah, can we have small improvements this year? And again, I'm not here to call people out, and people obviously have their opinion, and everyone's entitled to that opinion. But there are other channels and other things that they're already saying, Ruben's gonna cook. He's been saying all of like the right things, and he doesn't need signings, and he's gonna do this and he's gonna do that with these players. And we need to judge them at the end of the window, and they're still trying to do things. They're still in the pipeline. They're still going to do this, and they're still going to do that. And you can obviously tell, that where they to a certain degree have to toe the pipeline. And this is the beauty of us in here, is that we don't have to do that. We've got no links into the club. We're not trying to appease anybody, and I'll always try and give a balanced viewpoint on things. So, for the record, I am not Amorim out right now. I am staunchly against Ineos and the Glazers. So that's where I'm at. Anything they do, I will not give them credit for it until there's something spectacular that fixes this club, and then we can have that conversation. Obviously, you may have your opinions on this, and you can bring in your opinions here to me. And I am all for one for having different opinions, and it's not something that I just say and you have an opinion and then I'll block you or I'll call you out for that opinion. As long as we are respectful in the chat to each other, that's what I'll always ask you to do, then you can remain in the chat. And as long as we are respectful and respect each other's views, that's the main thing. So I am more than happy for you to come in here with your different views. If you have a different opinion to me, fantastic, because we can talk about it. That sparks debate. In my opinion, having these different views. If your view is that Ineos are doing a cracking job and you actually think I need to calm down and the window's great, by all means, I'm more than happy for you to bring that viewpoint to me, and for us to debate that. I may learn something from you. You may know something that I don't. You may piece this puzzle together, whereas I haven't. So, Amorim, overarching to all this, obviously Cunha was in the conference. There was a load of awful questions asked. This was basically a journalist press conference that was staged. All these questions were obviously vetted and staged just to basically make us all look and feel good, and that's basically what that is. You want to do business with this club, and as I always say, you sell your soul to the devil, to the Glazers and Ineos, and this is what you've got to do. You've got to play the party line. Never mind asking good questions, the pertinent questions, but let's just park that there. So basically, some of the questions that were basically asked, what was to him was, is it good to have a committed squad? I don't know really what you wanted to say about that. No, he doesn't want a committed squad. He wants the same squad that he had the last season, or the inherited squad. He wants Rashford still here and Sancho still here. So what a stupid question. Now, in between all that, so in between Amorim saying that he's happy with this squad, and this is, so what I've always said is I worry when Amorim starts to toe the party line. If he doesn't put his little two-penneth in, and he doesn't put his little bits and bobs in, and his little digs in, then that's where I'll start to be worried about Amorim, because he's very good at saying stuff. You need to read between the lines, and I'm sure the club have told him off for this. I have no doubt about that. Now, in between all that, one of the things that still gives me hope for Ruben, really, is the fact when he basically said that we're going to suffer this season and have problems. Now, for all at the moment, whatever you think about Amorim and his tactics and what we've seen so far against Leeds, his little comments. So Tulip plays, hello. I hope you are really well. So Tulip says Amorim needs a striker, keeper, and defensive midfielder. Good segue in there, because we can discuss that, and actually based on this comment as well. We're going to suffer and we have problems. That statement combined with we have a good squad and he's happy and he'd go into the season with that squad. So those two things there indicate to me a couple of things. Is number one, that I think he's accepting that we're probably not going to have a striker for the start of the season, and whether we have a striker or not. I think Amorim is quite clear on that one, because if you read between the lines, he has to say he's happy with that squad. And if you know anything about Ruben, he likes those versatile players. So even though I still believe that Fernandes is still going to kind of play a pivotal part in that number 10 in the short term, I don't think we're going to start. I'm also convinced we might not even get a striker. Doesn't mean to say I don't want one. We needed a striker. We need two strikers, to be fair. We needed two strikers 3-4 years ago. We've not had them. Rasmus, when we had him, we needed another striker then. That's when we needed we've been clambering out for a world-class or an experienced striker then, but we didn't get that. And that's what we needed. We needed them. So Amorim, I think he's trying to hedge his bets here, because I don't know right now how we get a striker in. I think that Ollie Watkins, Tulip says, our main issue is ball progression and physicality from midfield, finishing up front with a reliable keeper. Exactly. I completely agree with you on that one. And I'll take what you just said there. And again, so I think this is when he's saying that we're going to suffer. And I do truly believe, if you just listen to the things that are coming out of the club, things that other people are saying, Fabrizio is saying, Ornstein is saying, all of them are saying that basically the target now is, I think, a midfield player. One of the things we did say here, and one of the things that I believe, was we could maybe limp through without a striker and hope that Rasmus could do a job up front, and then you interchange those with Cunha and Burma up front, and maybe that's what you do. But I think midfield, it's 100% is ball progression and ball control, physicality, winning those balls in the centre of the park. If you look at our midfield, and I back you up on this completely. So Tulip plays is 100% right. We get overrun in the midfield. You look at every other kind of pivotal midfield, those midfields there, we're probably, I'd say right now, 11th, 12th, 13th best. You look at Newcastle will run through us, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Brighton to a degree. I mean, there are, our midfield is paper thin. We've got so many players in there. We've got 5 or 6 to choose from, but our midfield is still one of the worst. So we need 3 positions. We need striker, we need midfield, and we need a keeper. A goalkeeper, I think is nailed on. I really do believe that. I think Onana's not going anywhere unless Saudi come in and make him a ridiculous offer, but I don't know if they will. I think a goalkeeper is nailed on, so I'm not too worried about that. But midfield for me and striker, probably midfield first and then striker for me. Chilipback says, I would love a midfielder, but Anagate or Manu can do a job. Onana and Haaland are literally unplayable and cost us so many games. So number 9 and keeper are priorities for me. I don't disagree with that. I do think Ugarte and Manu can do a job. Ugarte for me is a big season for him. I mean, I like that. I want to give him a chance. I think that way fans turned early doors on Ugarte, he didn't have a pre-season. Xerxes as well, they turned in him really, really easy. Bearing in mind, Xerxes is a kid. He's a young lad. And people, so Ugarte for me, I want him to do well. Is he the future? No. Is he a utility player? I see Ugarte as a utility player that you keep around. Like he can do you a job. You know, he can fill in games. But for now, he's penciled in for me to kind of be one of the starters in there, depending on of course how he does and if he stays injury free. Mainu, I'd love Mainu to become better last season, but there was no question last season he was a liability. He was injured. You know, he wasn't the Mainu of the Euros. You know, he got overplayed, and Mainu for me is a reason why when people are clambering for OB and want OB to play, we need to be careful with these young players. Well, I'm not against it, but we need to be careful. And Mainu, because of that being overplayed, he suffered for it last season. So I'd be interested to see what he does in the next couple of games. Højlund is unplayable at times. I feel sorry for him, but he's not good enough. And Onana you're basically costing yourself 10, 13 points with him in goal. So he's a must for me as well. Chip says, ideally I want 3 more signings. Number 9, goalkeeper, CM. But if we can only get 2, I'll go 9 and keeper because the midfielders are least playable. That when we did I can't remember what show it was, and we were looking through the positions, and I basically said that originally I said that centre midfield wise I didn't think we were going to, and I still don't think we're going to spend big in that position, because if you look at what we've got in there, we could make that work. Doesn't mean we're going to do well, doesn't mean it's going to do well. Still think we need one in there, but if you look at Collier, which I don't think he's good enough, I don't. You've got Casemiro, Ugarte, Mainu, Fernandes, you know, and they can all interchange. Casemiro, you know, they can all interchange. So if you add another one in there, and I'll put slightly on that as well. So Douglas Luiz has refused to go back to Juventus to train. So I think that's one to keep an eye on there. Ndidi's been mentioned as well. Ndidi is not for me. Cheap price. But Luiz for me is the one whereby he's refused to train. So I wonder now if there's going to be things going to start to surface on that. But I did do a video and basically say that that's sort of where I'm sort of at on that midfield position, is that we could make do, but we will suffer if we don't get another body in there. Striker-wise, we need to put the ball in the back of the net. If you look at every other team, other than Arsenal last season, and that's why Arsenal didn't win the league last season, because they didn't have a striker who could put the ball in the back of the net. If you look at Liverpool, Mark Harris, you got the title wrong. Amorim is failing. United talking about suffering. Get this clown out now. Mark Harris is back in the chat. Legend. Yeah, I mentioned you at the start of the show, mate, that you'd be all over this one. And again, I love your opinion on this, because you have a different. The same Luke Shaw is world class as sackable offense. And that's a good segue into part of, so again, we'll go through all this as well. So and I'll come back to those chats. I watched a lot of film on Guerra. He's not what we need. He's an attacking 8 like Mainu and Bruno. He jumps out of tackles and doesn't defend well, or set tempo deep more and more of a box crusher. Yeah, the more that I've looked at him over the last couple of days, my sort of opinions shifted on that one. I think he's good, and I think for a good price he would be one to get, but we definitely need a deep lie-in, hard tackling, all action midfielder who can do that box to box, who can get back, who can help. And I now that time has passed and I've watched a little bit more of Guerra, I'm of that opinion as well. So I think we need to quickly shift away from that. Chip says we suffered last season. Time to put some results together now, Ruben. Enough suffering. And again, that's something I wanna talk through the comments, and then we can pivot back to all this. So it's one of the other things that Mark says, well said, tired as manager giving excuses. So, obviously, some of the things that he said, well, Luke Shaw being world class, and aside to that, apparently, and this made me actually spit out my tea today. Is that Luke Shaw said he's willing. Luke Shaw's willing to leave the club and find a new club, and Amrin leaning on the job, not Amrin learning on the job. Ineos too scared to sack their baby. Oh, we're going to come into all this, Mark. Don't you? Do not be concerned. You're I think the opinion is probably swaying towards your way now after this conference. The fact that Luke Shaw reckons that he's prepared to leave now, that he's prepared to, prepared to sit on our bench for best part of 2 years, but he's now prepared to leave and find another club. Well, holy shit. Well done. How good is Luke Shaw, right? He sat on his arse 2 years, didn't really want to play, got himself fit for the Euros, managed to get himself fit there, didn't get himself fit for the start of the season, and now he wants to leave, and now he's prepared to sacrifice himself up and leave for the good of the club. Well done, Luke Shaw. The fact anyone saying Luke Shaw is world class, for me, is a red flag. On his day, that's what Tulip says. And do you know what? It's music to my ears as well. Luke Shaw, get out of this club. Now, I'm not against any player, 100% not against any player other than Sancho, really, because I think he's a waste of space. Luke Shaw, for me, he hasn't played. He's not a player. Go. I don't want you to be prepared to go. I want you to go. And I don't know if Amrin's saying that Luke Shaw is a world-class player. He's not. He's maybe at one time he showed glimpses of being a potential, I would never call him world-class, but a one of the best players in European football, potentially in that position, maybe at some point, maybe in the last 4 years, potentially, but not for me. So, saying Luke Shaw is world class. If that is the opinion, then that's a red flag for me already, because I do not want to see Luke Shaw a left-sided centre back. If that's what I see against Arsenal, then Mark Harris, mate, I will be quickly jumping on your ship, because if I see the Luke Shaw left-sided centre back, not for me. And any manager that backs that is he's going to hide into nothing with that one. Anything else? So pretty much, I mean, there was a load of things said, but they were a bunch of pre-audited questions. So we didn't really learn anything with that. So I'm going to go back to the chat and we'll go through the stuff in the chat now. And I think Mark and Tulip plays there is that we did suffer last season. We suffered a lot last season, and I know Mark is not the biggest fan of Amorim. Again, there's lots of red flags from me, but I need to be pragmatic, and I need to be I'm going to try and be as balanced on this as possible. So, if Amorim, as we said now, or as he said, he's happy with this squad, okay. I don't think we're going to have a striker in the start. As much as I agree with Tulip, and as much as I agree with Mark, and as much as I agree with this fan base, we need 3 positions. It's a must. It's a non-negotiable for me. Striker, midfielder, keeper. Those are the non-negotiables at the very least that we should be doing, that I demand that we do. I don't think right here and now we're going to get a striker. And there's another little pivot that we can do towards that. That's even more embarrassing as well. We need a new striker, and we need a midfielder and a goalkeeper. If Amorim comes out and says that he's happy with this current squad, as he has done, and he's happy to go into the season with this squad, and he's saying things like Luke Shaw's class, and he's saying all these other bits and pieces, we know the spin has begun anyway. The spin has begun, and then he says we're going to suffer and have issues, right? Well, we can't have issues. There's no excuses. What Ruben doesn't, I don't think what he's grasped, and irrespective of what Ineos has said to him, 2 strikers as cover for world-class Holland. We need 2 strikers. 100%. 100% we need 2 strikers, right? If Rúben Amorim comes out and he says he's happy with the squad and he goes into the squad with these players, Luke Shaw playing, his world-class star Luke Shaw playing, and 2 of these players, I'm saying this now, mark that Liverpool game at Anfield as if you were Amorim out and you were staunchly Amorim out and you don't think that he's good enough and you don't think he can turn this squad around. I would mark that. I'd mark that game as potentially where he's going to get sacked, because with this current squad, with this current players, in Burma and Acuna improve us, but mark that game out because we will not. He will not survive that. There is this 100, and people are going to say, "Oh, you're being over the top and whatever else." But I really fear listening to this today. This is a guy who's going in bright, but you can't. We're going into the season on hope, basically. Never mind Liverpool going into the season on firepower, striker signings, midfield signings, whatever they're doing. City doing whatever they're doing. Newcastle now in for Shesko. Newcastle got a run at Shesko. Every other Premier League team is going for a striker, but yet we seem to be pissing around with Ollie Watkins, and if not that, then Højlund stays up front. Let's go for this chat. What Harris says, I'm in learning on the job, but not learning. Ineos too scared to sack their baby. It's going to cost him. A load of money, and that for me is a scary thing that they'd keep him, but basically because of the cost. No new keeper, no midfielder, no 2 strikers. United putting the band-aid on again, 100%. Mason Mount also holding his hand out, top dollar, doing don't even get me started on Mason Mount. I keep forgetting he's here, to be honest with you. Mason Mount is another one of those players for me, is that if he gets into the squad, if I see Luke Shaw and Mason Mount as regular starts in this team, then we've got problems. Then my opinion will probably start to shift. I've been happy with Bum Højlund. Go figure. I don't think he is happy, mate. I think he wants him gone, but I just don't think he can. Tube says, Belbet is an ideal target. We cannot afford him. 100 plus is too much. Realistically, we could go for Luiz. He'll be available for 25. Can tackle, run hard. And Luiz has gone on sort of strike as well. So I think Luiz might be one of the ones that we keep an eye on. He's trying to force a move. I don't know who's trying to force a move to, whether we've asked him to force that move, but I think that Luiz, put a little highlight on that one, because I think Luiz for me is the one. That will save us enough money to get a striker and keeper. The problem is striker. Keeper I think is going to get done. Lemens for me is the one. Senny Lemens for me is the one I think is going to get done. That is the one I think goalkeeper will get done. I don't know when, but I think that one will get done. It's the striker and midfielder for me. That will save us enough money to get a striker. No ideal, but beggars can't be choosers. We need players. And this is the point here, is that we need players. Like I've always said, Amorim for me now, that he's going to be... There are a couple of decisions that he's made, and we can come on to that as well, that I think are going to cost him his job. I think he's playing with fire. Tulip, Glazers and Ineos taking all the money for the new stadium. And the new stadium has gone quiet 100%. And I wonder why that is. Like we said this week, right? I said this week that when things go good or bad or wrong, there's always a spin here, right? So when we weren't signing players, or when things were starting to look a bit bad, what came out? That we were going to charge £4,000 for a seat. £4,000 for United fans on top of a season ticket to just get a seat. Why's that been done? But like, how was that leaked out? The only way that leaks out is from the club. How would anybody know about that? People haven't gone in there and hidden under and then gone, oh, we need to tell people. This has got leaked out from the club because they need a diversion tactic to divert us away from this hand. It's like a baby with a shiny toy. You put some keys in front of a baby and they get, and they'll stop crying and whatever else. And that's what they think that we are. They think that we are a bunch of babies who's just literally going to forget and look at this shiny new thing, and we'll argue amongst ourselves, and we will, our attention will be shifted from what we're not doing. We'll be so outraged the fact that they've put £4,000 for a seat that will be so angry and focused on that and move away from the things that they're not doing. I'm not. That's a brick in the wall of all the things that they do, and we still need to focus on what it is they're not doing on the pitch. This all needs to be highlighted. So Ineos and the Glazers are trying to do it. They're trying to spin plates, and this is what I was already saying at the start of this week. Be careful of the spin, because this is what's now going to happen for the rest of the window is spin. It's going to be training pictures. There's going to be all sorts of noise because they're so scared because they know and it's now abundantly clear that we don't have the money to do things. That is abundantly clear. Glinios can do one. I'm not out on Ruben. I'm giving him till December. If we're not at least top half, goodbye, my friend. That's sort of where I'm at as well. I don't think he'll survive till December, my friend. I think our games are too. If you look at the games, we've got City, Arsenal, Liverpool. We've got like some Burnleys in there. But if you look at the fixture list, the first 8 games, and Liverpool's in October away from home. I said I think he'll get 8 from 8. Only if he gets 8 from 8, he's gone. Ineos don't mess around with things like that. They if you look at what they've done at Nice, and they chopped people. But again, if we can't afford to do it, it might be a situation where Mark Harris is right, or other people in the chat are right, or whatever your opinion is on this, is that if they can't afford to sack him, or they think of him as their baby and they can't sack him, and he's so bad, and we're all going, right, he actually doesn't need to go because, okay, he's not got his plays, but his tactics are so bad, he needs to adjust, and they keep him despite the fans, and we go down, that's equally as bad. So there might be a time in the season where we go, actually, do you know what? He hasn't got his players, but he's actually taken the team backwards. If the team gets worse, then at that point you go, well, then maybe he needs to be sacked. Like, he needs to go. So there could be a double-edged sword here, whereby it's he may be sacked, but he's not got his own players. And actually, do you know what? October he'd be sacked. But then if we keep him on beyond that, and say we get to Christmas time, and he goes backwards because his tactics can't handle the Premier League, and they keep him, and they do conversely to sacking him early, and they keep him. Again, that may be equally as bad. So these first 5 to 10 games are going to be pivotal, and I think we'll be able to see that if he's happy, and then we'll see what he's about. If all he gets is maybe a keeper and maybe a striker, then we'll absolutely see what he's all about. Mike Harris said more burns at United than Pornhub. Mark, you crap me up, buddy. Lemens, Shesko, Luis, I'll be thrilled. Shesko ain't coming, mate. I think we need to forget that one. Like I said, and I might do a video on that. I did a Gyökeres one about a month ago, whilst we were still in it, saying basically, well, we need to move on from him, and I don't think we're going to get him. I think Shesko is going the same way as well. Newcastle are going to get that Shesko deal done. They've got a free run at him. We've completely moved back on Shesko. It looked like, we were in talks with him. We were trying to get a deal done, but we've been priced out of that deal. And I think I've said this, and I might go back through the videos that I've always said I could see Shesko in a Newcastle shirt. I might try to dig that out actually. I did say I could see Shesko in a Newcastle shirt. I don't want to be right. If I'm right, it means that I'm completely wrong, and I don't want that. But I think Shesko is Newcastle bound. I want to be completely wrong on this, but I think he is Newcastle bound. So I think Shesko, unless we do something, unless we have a madness, then I think that we are Shesko is gone. If you're watching this and you like what we do so far, you may not agree with me. Get into the chat. This chat is brilliant. So many great opinions. This chat. We don't always agree. Always makes me laugh. Get in here because I think all the difference of opinions are fantastic. It's one of the best chats. Even when I've been in other chat rooms on YouTube. I just have to say that this is the best chat so far. Stick a like on the video; it doesn't cost you anything. Give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing. Get involved with the channel as well. If you want to talk about something, if you want us to do a video on something, I will endeavour to make that happen. Mateta or Watkins for you? I think Watkins for me. I would go Watkins if I'm being honest. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I wish one of the victors had have joined us. Yeah, I agreed, but sadly that's gone. Isn't it? I think Watkins for me. I think Mateta is a. If Mateta was the only thing that we could get, I'd be okay with Mateta. I would be. But if it's a choice out of Watkins or Mateta, looking back at Watkins, some of his stats and the injuries, he's fine. He scored 17 goals. I think roughly 17 goals, 14 assists. Runs down the channel, plays on the last man. It'd be Watkins over Mateta for me. Not at 60 million. 45 million for me, yes. Not on a 5-year deal. Maybe on a 3+, or maybe a 4+1 or 3+1. And for me, the reason for that is because he's seen it, done it, played it all, Premier League proven. I reckon he'll be in his prime until about 33. Then he can be a backup striker. He can bring Obi in, teach Obi. If Rasmus stays, bring him in potentially. Rasmus for me isn't no, but if that's what we were going to do and we were going to bring in one, then Watkins. Mateta for me again. If you could get him at 40 million, and that's the only thing that we could get, I'd rather have Mateta than nothing at all. Amorim should have been sacked after the Europa League final. Ineos are messing around. It wouldn't have surprised me if they'd have sacked him after that final. I still don't think he should have been sacked after that final, just purely because he didn't have a window. He's not had a pre-season. You bring a guy and you don't give him the tools to do a job, and then you blame him and sack him. If you're comfortable with that, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go against that opinion. I think some people. I think Mark may be one of these people who can potentially see these things early doors. Like you're probably smarter than me, mate, and you might already be able to see this manager, particularly if you're of a certain age and you've watched football for a long time. Maybe if I was in a different club looking in and not watching it like I watch him, maybe you'd go, look, he's not it. You can see it already. He's not it. He's not got the squad. He's definitely not the guy. But I think because I'm maybe a little bit emotionally invested in the manager, only because of how we've treated our managers in the past, I want to see the good in him. And I want to see the good in, look, he's not had a full year. He's had a pre-season. Okay, we finished 15th. Let's give him a pre-season this year. How worse could it get? I might be wrong, right? But Mark, for example, you might be, well, actually, I've seen this. Maybe I'm a bit too more emotionally attached and want to see the best in him. But you might have already gone, do you know what? I just know. I can just see. And that's how it goes. Like, I can do that with some players and just go, look, this player, he's not for me. No other reason than just the way that he runs, or the way that he passes the ball, or just the way that he reacts to different things. You can tell that. And Mark, you might have already called it already, buddy. It's going to be the first 8 games for me are well, I say the first 8 games. After the next 3 pre-season games is going to tell me a lot. Chief Herb, hello, I hope you're doing well. I don't think we are getting any players after Mbeumo. I'd only panic if we ain't selling the deadweight. And Jesus, if Onana remains as number 1, I'm going to shut the TV for the entire season. Oh, my good Lord. Just let that sink in for a second, Chief. Yeah. I'll read your other thing and then we'll come back to that as well. This manager said Luke Shaw is world class. Start watching Paralympic World Cup. No offence. Two bangers there, Chief. 2 absolute bangers. Amorim thinks he's clever. Mentioning Luke Shaw. Guy's a mug. Sorry, a rich mug on no talent one formation. I do think Amorim thinks he's been clever there. Mentioning Luke Shaw has been world class, particularly after stories come out that Luke Shaw wants to leave. So I think he's trying to. It's a bit like Chelsea fans telling us that Jackson is a good player and he's worth the money. So I do think he's basically just trying to sell Luke Shaw there. But people, I'm sure United think that other fans and other clubs are as stupid as our club. Not the fans, but the club itself. Nobody's going to buy Luke Shaw. Who is going to buy Luke Shaw? It's just a pathetic player. I think we will get another player after Mbeumo. I don't know who's going to be. It'll be at least a goalkeeper. I'm adamant on that one. I'm adamant we're going to get a new goalkeeper. I'm probably going to be proved wrong because that's what this club does, but I'm pretty adamant that we're going to get a new goalkeeper. I think it's an absolute must. Unless Onana changes his personality, changes his playing style, changes everything about him, comes back and is a completely different type of goalkeeper, then maybe, but that's not going to happen, is it? So I think I think the club is going to get a new goalkeeper. It doesn't matter, even if he's 5 million, if he's a second choice keeper, I think we're going to get a new keeper. I think Vitek's going. Vitek's been sold or going. Bayinda, he's going to get sold or going to go as well. So we need a new goalkeeper. Whatever happens, but is it going to be a challenger to Onana, or is it going to be a Onana get out? This is the new number 1. Mark says Amorim thinks he's clever and mentioned Luke Shaw. Yeah. I think it's quite embarrassing, to be honest with you. I think that who's he kidding, really? Does he not know that fans watch? I don't know because they must know. Do the Glazers know and Ineos know? I know Sir Jim is older, right? Does he not realise that, or are they too blinkered? Do they realise fans now actually sit and analyse the things that people say? Like, just ordinary fans now and we're no longer blinded by spin. That if Amorim says Luke Shaw is like world class, then we'll go, oh, we're wrong. Oh God, he's been world class this whole time. Oh God, like. The manager has now said it, so it must be true. Luke Shaw is world class. He's always been world class. But he's just been injured. It's clearly not his fault. So do they think that our opinions will just be some people's bar? But are we going to be swayed by that? So I just don't understand the value of saying that. It's just he just makes himself look stupid. It ridicules him as a manager to come out and say that when clearly Luke Shaw is not world class. He can't be world class because he doesn't play. So I think statements like that are just they don't serve him well, and they just give fuel to the fire of people who are currently now Amorim outers. Chief says, what's the point of saying they are Manchester United players? Goes not to integrate into pre-season. Choice of words is important, boss. Agree with you. You are judged by your words, and as soon as they leave your mouth, you cannot reclaim them back, particularly if they are recorded. So you do need to be careful with what you say, and we can talk about the bomb squad as well. As for Onana, I always thought he'd been doing some betting behind the scenes. There's no way a keeper can be this bad. Yes, Chief, check his garage for 10 Lambos. Do you know what? You say that. It is rife, isn't it? But I just think he's that bad. I just think he's that bad, mate. Chief, I just think he's that bad. I think he got away with it at Inter. I don't know how, but I generally think he's that bad. Newsflash: Luke Shaw and Onana cost us the final and the Champions League. Onana cost us the final. Onana cost us the Champions League place. I think that's been well established and agreed. He cost us that, and pretty much since then I've been out. I like the personality of the guy. You know, I've listened to him speak a few times. I like his personality. You know, I do think he wants to do the best, but ability is what it's about, and he just doesn't. He doesn't have that. So, yeah, so to come on to that point about the integrating plays and things like that. So, what you also said was Garnacho and Anthony and Malacia and Sancho would all be integrated back into the United squad. And I've got nothing really to say about or about Amorim on that one. I think he's just relaying the news. I don't think on transfers he should be coming out and talking about them. I think Wilcox and whoever else is in charge of that need to grow a pair of bollocks and come out and actually talk about that. Basically, the rhetoric around those four players is we've got a price. If you don't pay the price, then they're not going anywhere, and they're basically going to come back and rot. That's basically what I get out of that. Amorim, I mean, you know, what's he supposed to say on that one? You know, Amorim's done enough damage in terms of Rashford already, and the Garnacho thing. So whatever happens, even if Anthony comes back in the side, and again, I alluded to this and said this: if there is any player that I would be okay with coming back into the squad, it would be Anthony. Not because he's good, not because he's not so particularly want him back in the squad, but if there was a gun to my head of all of those players, Anthony for me would be the one I would be like, right, okay, fine. Like if he was short and we needed somebody, just because he went and got himself a loan and he seemed to be, you know, respectful and okay. But the others are not coming back into the squad. Again, it's embarrassing. Do we think that we're so clever that we'll go, oh, nobody is prepared to give us 60 million for our players, so they're going to stay. We're not going to loan them. We're not going to sell them. They're going to stay, and we're going to bring them back into the squad because they're so good. Again, this is why I say that United are failing Amorim, because they're making him say this stuff. I mean, Amorim to a degree, and I do agree with that. Amorim is a company man at the moment. In some respects, I agree that you almost have to toe the line. You've got to. It's your job. At the end of the day, somebody's employing you. You can't come out and go, basically, they're a load of crap. You can make comments, but you can't come out but I get that. But you don't have to say this stuff. I mean, why are you saying this stuff for? I mean, the hierarchy, the Wilcoxes, the Omars, they're weak. They're so pathetic in forcing a manager to come out and say this stuff. The transfers should be done by the transfer team. You know, the director of football, you know, like the CEO from Bayern Munich and whatever else, they all come out and they say this. This, instead of making Ruben look stupid, they need to come out and they need to say this stuff. This should be on them. And then, because right now we Amorim, he's taking all of the flack, and I think irrespective, in my opinion, about how if you just set aside maybe how he plays and that for now, if you just look at what he's having to do in Shield, he is the manager and he needs to have big shoulders to do it, and I agree, and it is part of the job. But they're just making they're failing him. They're not giving him signings. They're not providing the squad that he needs. They're expecting him to shine this pile of crap. And the majority of these players aren't his. And they're making him come out and say that Luke Shaw is world class because they're obviously trying to sell him. It's unbelievably naive. It's unbelievably stupid, and it makes us look it makes us look weak. Chief says the only positive is Cunha and Burma. I like how Amorim's been trusting to the youth. He's done that sporting, but I don't want to see another Manc born. I don't want to see a Manc born and bred leave to Barcelona. Chief, Chief, I like the cut of your jib, sunshine. I agree with you. He says he's trusting of the youth. Hi, Rob. I hope you're doing really, really well. I'm glad you've been listening to the press conference as well today. And it's really funny you say that, and we'll come back to Antifa because there's a load of toxic positivity out there. And I think you can swing both ways in this, right? You can be toxic in terms of, and I don't like that word because it's an opinion, right? So when I say toxic, I mean like those who are like, there's like the both ends of the scale. And just because you're Amorim in or out doesn't mean that you're toxic. But what I mean by that is that you can have an opinion like Amorim out, right? But then that can also be like, irrespective of what happens, like you want others to, let's just say you got the ump, and you want everyone else to go, right, Amorim out, blah blah blah, and just really infect everybody and go like, I just want him out, I don't care, I hate the world, blah 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 blah. Instead of just being, look, I don't rate him, like I'm not scared of that opinion, I want him out, like he can just go, like, but you that's your view, right? And you're happy to share that view, and you might be right. Or the other side is you want him in, you go, oh yeah, he's in, and then you go, anyone who doesn't want him in, they're awful. How can he he's a perfect manager? He's done like, how can he possibly do anything with these players? And you can't, he's this amazing guy. And then like we've done well. We've signed 2 players. It's like more than some clubs. Instead of just kind of being in that whole look, right? We can be Amorim in, but be realistic, and be Amorim out, and also be realistic. The facts are the facts. That right now, whether you're Amorim in or Amorim out, the fact cannot be denied. We're in trouble. Whatever happens right now, this conference, I thought it was really embarrassing. Embarrassing for Amorim, embarrassing for the club to come out when knowing Newcastle are probably going to go and get Shesko, knowing that Liverpool just signed 2 of the world's best strikers for a combination. Isak, I don't even want to know how much he's going to cost. What, 100 million? So they need 200 million or 170 odd million on strikers, and we can't even get a single striker. We've got 2 players. Cunha was a free run. No one else wanted to pay that money. And Mbeumo, again, he only wanted to come to us. I just, what cannot be denied, whether I like it or not, whether I'm Amorim in, which at the moment I am, there are certain things that Amorim has to come out and say. There are certain things he's forced to say because again, he's taking the flak. He's Van Gaal, Ollie, Radnick, Jose. He's already going down the same. I don't see the difference here. The positivity trying to be spun from this club. We finished 15th last season. We all know we need a new goalkeeper. We all know we need a midfielder. We all know we need a striker. and they're not there. And we're on pre-season tour. We've got a game on Sunday, and yet we are talking about going into this current season with the same squad. Mike says Chief 15th in 15 in losing the defeat is not best in class. We talk after the first 5 games. Mm-hmm. I think we do. I think we the first 5 games will tell us a lot. The first 5 games could be horrific. If the first 5 games are horrific, then followed by the next 3, Liverpool at Anfield is notorious. That could be the pencil for him. Rob says, I am Amorim in. I do like the guy, but I am not a fan of 3 at the back or back 5. He needs to be more flexible for formations like this season. He's going to be stubborn. This is his system. I think he's going to be. He does change his formation up, but ultimately in my opinion, he is a back 3, back 5. Against Leeds, he was a back 5. If he plays like that, he's not going to last 5 games. If he plays back 5, like he did against Leeds with that centre midfield and that strike force up front, that striker up front, he's not going to last 5 games. He just won't last 5 games. I guess we're doing it for the PR, but all in all, we've got to be optimistic that we'll play better next season. Only time will tell. Judgment after 5 games. And again, Chief, yeah, I mean, for me, it's more of a reaction and frustration. As I say, I do try to be logical and pragmatic and positive to a degree, even though it doesn't come across maybe that way sometimes. But we have to, but it's also at the same time really quite saddening that instead of saying, we can logically say we bought a world-class striker, another midfielder, a goalkeeper. We'll use some of the players from last season, maybe bring some of the youth in, and we go, do you know what? Factually, we will do better because actually, do you know what? We've actually made some really good signings, right? So I would rather go into the season not on hope, not on being optimistic. We are United. We are the biggest club in England still just about. And we're going into a new season on optimism and hope. I'm not comfortable with that. You can be optimistic that you can finish in the top 3. Like Liverpool fans going to be optimistic that they're going to win the Champions League. They'll be optimistic that they're going to win the league. They'll be optimistic that they're going to play well, but they'll be pretty much be on ball that they're going to win something because they just bought a load of players. City, optimistic that they're going to win the league. Hopeful they're going to win the Champions League. Arsenal, hopeful they're going to win the league. Newcastle are now optimistic and hopeful that they're going to win, that they're going to get Shesko. We are hopeful and optimistic that our players are going to play well. And I'm not calling you out, and I'm not saying that, and I promise you, I'm not saying that that's not a really good opinion to have, and to be optimistic and be positive that the team will do well. But optimism and hope are not going to save the manager's job. Hope and optimism is not how I want to go into a season. I want to go into a season feel like we're ready for battle. We're ready to go in and do something. And I don't feel like that. I have to hope. That we're going to finish in the top half of the table. I'm not even thinking. I'm just hoping that these players perform and can do something. And that's crushing. That's absolute. Supporting this club for nearly 4 years. That's crushing. That's such a crushing place to be. That we have to discuss hope. We're hoping. We're hoping that we do okay. And if not, at least it's not 15th. I mean that's how low these owners. That's how low Ineos and the Glazers, these cretins that we have in charge of the club, Sir Jim, have got us. Niche fan says, did you watch the press conference today? Yes, sadly, I did. Amron says, is interested for all the wrong reasons. He can be that bad. A coach is stunned. I only get mad when our players ain't given 100% in the league. wins. That's all they got to offer is a top four flight. Yes, I agree. The standards have dropped. Uncle J official, what have you done? What have you done as a person? What have I done as a person in terms of what my own life? Is that a Mark Harris be prepared maybe in the chat for old Uncle J? Official wants to. I think he maybe wants to have a little dig. I'm more than happy to, if you want to extend that comment. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. And as I've always said, as long as you're respectful to people in the chat, I don't really care what you say to me, but I'm more than happy to come back on that one. If you want to be more specific on that one, just know that I'm not calling really any of these players. I am calling the club out. I'm calling the cretinous owners that we've got. We've got Sir Jim, who has no idea what he's doing. Ineos and the Glazers they've destroyed this club. They're also going to start charging the match-going fans £4,000 just for a seat. What have I done? I've not done that. I've not charged people £4,000 to come and sit in my house. I don't charge my kids £4,000 to come sit in the house before they've done anything. So if you could be a little bit more specific than what like have you done as a person, then I'm more than happy that answer that. Niche fan says he's been told no more signings. He's a yes man for Glinios. Qatar's our only hope, just like Obi-Wan was for Leia. Star Wars reference, and now I do love me a little bit of Star Wars. I am not going to lie. I think I don't want to over-egg the pudding, right? And yeah, I've criticised Amorim and what he said in the press conference. I do want to take another viewpoint on it and just say, look, what's he supposed to say? I mean, ultimately, whether I like it or not, and I think a lot of what he said was embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. Quite embarrassed by saying Luke Shaw was world class. I mean, if he said that off his own back, then that's a red flag for me. And I've already said some of my red flags. I'm still waiting for Uncle J official to come back at me, but he hasn't. Maybe he's pissed off. Nishvan says, yeah, when you've paid £4,000, if you don't buy the season ticket, you lose your lease. Couldn't make it up. Exactly, right? What's Amorim supposed to say? And this is what I do think. And I'll tell you what I think. Where I am right now, he said Rasmus was a threat. I forgot about that. I really did. I forgot about that. You just made me chuckle there. Yeah, I completely forgot. I've got so many notes. Right? I've got so many notes down on here. I mean, I've got back pages of notes that I've forgotten completely. Threat to my eyesight. So I'm loving this chat tonight. I love it. This is where I'm at, and then you can tell me where you are on it, right? So we brought in a coach. Let me start with the team. We got a team that finished 15th. Last season, relegation was a potential. It wasn't for Bruno Fernandes, whether you like him or not, agree with him, blah 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 blah. He pretty much, if it wasn't for his goals, then we would have gone down. Right, fine, okay. You then sacked Ten Hag after giving him 300 million. Every Ten Hag 2.0 with no coaching ability, he will be sacked this season. It's obvious. And I'm not gonna. I can't. Wish I had a comeback for that, Mark, but I don't. So you bring in these players, which I don't think the players that they brought in were particularly bad. We then sack him, bring in a coach who has a definitive particular style of play that doesn't suit us, doesn't suit the players. He didn't want to come in until now. I think he was being set up to go to City. Had better players system-wise. Who knows if he would have lasted there? We just don't know. I mean, also don't know how good he is really in the Premier League as well. So I take Mark Harris. I take that on board completely. Some managers just don't work. But how is he able? And this is just me asking like a question out there, is that how can you really judge a manager properly when you bring him into a squad that's not his, for a bunch of players that weren't his, bunch of players that don't know how to play system, bring him in, ask him to completely change the style of system that we've been playing for X amount of years, not give him a squad, not provide the squad, get into a transfer window, don't give him any players then, buy him one player, ask him to do some stuff, and yes, there are red flags like the final, and that's on him. I don't think that's on anybody else. But then ask him to do a miracle with this squad. Okay, so I don't blame him for that. Right? Maybe he doesn't understand how big this club is, the reach of this club. You don't understand the pressures of this club, the pressures of the fan base. You don't appreciate it until you come to this club. Or maybe when he was calling out Rashford and all the plays that he was calling out, he potentially again didn't understand the size of the club, didn't understand. Some of you may argue, well, don't come then. Some of you can argue, well, actually, he should know that's part of his job to understand this club. But he didn't understand how big it is. And then gets to the final, he balls it up. I mean, Mason Mount in a final. Playing Luke Shaw towards the end of... No, not for me. And then we get to pre-season. Okay? He's still got the same players. He signed Cunha. So he's... And as Nish Fan said there, that was good timing with that. Cunha said he was sold on the project. I bet he was told the project was more than him and Mbeumo. Exactly. So... And Ineos and the Glazers lie anyway. They've been known for lying completely. I'm still waiting for Uncle Jay to come back on it, because he's asked a question, but it's an open-ended question. I'm not I need to be answering your questions. So he's been signed Cunha, and let's have this right. Cunha and Mbeumo are the two of the league's best players. I'm not going to say that they're not, even though they spent 7 weeks trying to get one done. And he's still got the same squad of players. In fact, you could argue he's got a worse squad of players. Rashford is gone, whether you like him, rate him, whatever else, he's gone. That's a player that you don't have. The rest are pretty much still here, but they're not going to play. He's got less to choose from. So he's actually got less of a squad, and he's actually still got the squad that finished 15th last season. I didn't Nish Fan say, Norwich Chiefs say, like, you guys seen the Rio Tour vlogs? Man, I miss those legends. Only thing I'm going to say on that, Chief, is that Rooney and Rio are in a Grenadier Jeep, which is a Ineos thing, right? So they basically jumped on the bandwagon as well. I don't trust their views. When you get again, I miss them playing. I do. I miss those guys playing. I really do. From an old era, but I don't like them now. I mean, you're siding with the enemy, and Ineos and the Glazers are the enemy. So the things they say now, I couldn't care. They are meaningless to me. They've got their opinions, and as I say, I respect opinions about Rooney and Ferdinand's opinions now. Once you jump on the gravy train because you're irrelevant now, people might argue that about me. But when you're of an irrelevancy, when you've been used to being in the limelight, they are irrelevant. Sorry, you mean the 2000? Well, I think my point still stands about the vlogs that they do now is irrelevant. Ferdinand and Rooney's vlogs, I mean, I've never really. I liked it when they were there because they were good. They were good players. I think I probably would have listened more towards those than I do now. But yeah, I mean, like now, it's just embarrassing now. The fact that they are back on the road trying to replicate, I think, those vlogs, and it's just embarrassing. I mean, they're all pushing 40, over 40. Ex players who were jumping on the Glinios train. So I think if you are going to do that, you need to you need to make your voice heard, and you need to fight for real change. Niche fan says he understood the size. He's just completely naive to how Glazers and the Ineos do business. Agreed. Agreed. Agreed to a point. I don't think you know how big United is. I think I take it for granted sometimes. I think it's an opinion. I think some fans maybe take for granted because we've always, yeah. Chief Herb says that in your Grenadier blog, and I think we maybe take it for granted, but maybe he did understand, and if he did, well, then he should have known what he was walking into, and he shouldn't have accepted the job. So the whole of last season, I've given him the benefit of the doubt. But you're in high-end football, high-end results business football. Whether you've got the tools to do your business or not, this is now where you're going to be judged on the things that you can and can't do. And when you do say things like Luke Shaw's world class and Rasmus is a threat, nobody in world football is going to be fooled by that, and fans are just going to basically laugh, and you're going to lower your own stock. Each fan says apparently Rasmus is a threat now. Must have done some Matrix upgrade program and given to him by Morpheus. I know Kung Fu. I love the Matrix. Again, I'm loving these Star Wars Matrix stuff, mate. Yeah, I don't even think that would help him. Rasmus, for me, he's burnt. He's done. Unless he comes back next season, or he's. I just don't know. I don't know why to say that he's a threat. I know they're trying to sell these players, but we're not stupid. So yeah. So in a nutshell, I think if you watch the interview, I think it's quite embarrassing. I think that Amorim's done himself no favours. This is one of the first years, I think, that fans are not fooled. I wasn't fooled last season, but I think fans are now so sick and tired of it. They're not blind. They're not going to be blindsided by the manager, by the things that they say. Some people are, and there's going to be so much spin. How Amorim's worked his magic with Rasmus, he's done a Matrix style to him there, as a niche fan says. He's trained him up. He's done something special. He's found a special thing. Luke Shaw's suddenly come back, stayed fit, and is world class again. I think Leeds would have something to say about that. I think Leeds right hand side tore him an arsehole. And we'll find out, won't we? We'll find out on Sunday. Chief F says, I guess our club is about player power, management, tittle and words, board frauds, double agents, greedy rich pricks, and there's Rasmus from Gladiator. I mean, that's. And those are some of the things that I don't want to be associated with this club, and I personally do try to sort of move away from that sort of stuff, because I just don't think I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I agree with those words, but in a slightly different way. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying that I think Rasmus needs to hold his breath for 52 minutes. Yeah, if we start the season with him, then we're done, aren't we? So we're laughing stock of the Prem and niche fan, and that's pretty much where I didn't want us to be, and this season, yeah, I said it the worst way. Don't worry about it. No, I know you did. I know this. I know this not what you meant. It's all good. And I know it's what you're saying, but I know that's not what you meant, so that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I agree with it. But this is what we need to move away from, is that, not you saying it, but we imagine that's us saying that about our own team. We need to be, the managers, players and the club, this is what they want. They want us to be in turmoil. They want us to say different things because they literally just don't want the blame on them. Mike Harris says EPL managers are schooling Amorim, probably phoning each other up, having a good laugh at him. And this apparently was going to be Ineos' season and Sir Jim's season, and we were going to do things we'd never done before, and we were going to sell these players. And if you still listen to a bunch, and I wish I could name names on here, on other YouTube accounts that I just think talk total and utter crap. But that does go against my ethos of, that everyone has their views. But there are certain views where Ineos are, when they're supporting Ineos, and you can support Ineos, come on here and support them, that's fine. No issue with that at all. But when you're leading a channel and you're almost promoting Ineos, that's when I've got an issue. If you're, we've all got our opinions and we all run our channels and whatever else and all have our opinions about different things, right? Fine, I get that. People in the chat come on here and say Ineos are great. I think you talk crap, blah blah blah. I've literally got no issue with that. When people are trying to be the front of something, and then there are things that are literally wrong, and it's not opinion, it's fact, that Glazers, Ineos destroying this club from the inside and out, okay, sacking people, letting our club rot, best in class, talking about this and that, and they are literally destroying this club. When you're then almost promoting and supporting this, I just think that's wrong, because there are it's like in life, right? Things that are right and things that are wrong. So if you was to end a person, obviously depending on who the person is, I'm kidding, but there are certain things in life that are wrong. If you commit a crime, irrespective of what the crime is, in law, it's wrong. So we know what right and wrong is, right? What the Glazers have done to this club, Ineos, whether you support Sir Jim or whatever else, what they've done is wrong. Supporting that is, in my opinion, is criminal. Rob says, I've supported the Reds since 1985. These days, watching the Reds are not great, but we are united. And what will it take us for take it back up there? We are miles away at the moment. I'm glad. Supporting since 85. I think I've been around. What was I? So 87, right? That's why your opinion, everyone else's opinion is important. And I like we had somebody on the other day who'd been supporting this club since 1960. So they saw the 68 final and all that sort of stuff. And this is what we need. We need young fans. We need them for their opinions of what they see now. We need everyone to come together, right? And you're right. We're still one of the biggest clubs, but we are miles away. Mike Harris says, so Goldfish isn't Amorim out. Another company bum can't even use his real name. Yeah. Can't comment on the larger channel. I can tell you what my opinion on it is basically that I'm not Amorim out just yet, for the reasons of I just don't particularly want to sack a new manager without an excuse. But I'm not blind to it. I can't ignore the things he's done, the things he hasn't done. That Europa League final, the devaluing of Garnacho, Rashford. He's now basically saying that Luke Shaw is world class. Whether he's been told to say it or not, I point blankly refuse to say it. Saying that Rasmus is a threat, and I know he's got to say it, but I just wouldn't say it. And whether I like it or not, in the first 5 games, if he gets 1 or 2 points from the first 5 games, and then we get to Liverpool, and he keeps saying that he's happy with his squad, then what other choice have we got? I don't want him to be sacked. I don't want any manager to be sacked. But if his tactics don't work with this crop of players, and we're not going to get any more players, then we don't have a choice. We have to get a replacement in. Like, what else can we do? Like I don't want any manager. I don't want anyone to be sacked. But I'm also a realist on the basis that I don't want him to be sacked. What I've seen is not great. But if he's saying he's happy, he's got a pre-season, he's getting what he wanted. He gets a pre-season, gets a look at these players. If he chooses to stay, he could walk away if he didn't want to put his name to it. But he's going to choose to stay, going to choose to put his name to this. So he's going to have to live and stand by that. And if the first 5 games are a disaster, he ultimately, where he's going to live and die is on that decision for Fernandes. He ultimately didn't want him to go, and that is what's going to keep him in a job or sack him, and he's got to stand by that. Niche fan asked him, how important is it to have players that want to be at the club? I know, right? Yeah. I think I said that at the top of the show, was like, what sort of question is that? Are you happy to have players who want to be at the club? No, I want players who don't want to be at the club. I mean, like, where do they get these questions from? The Glazers are basically like the management of Thames Water. Load us up with massive debt, take massive dividends, and don't invest in the infrastructure. It's exactly the same as, don't know where you are in the world, but we've got a train operator in Essex called C2C, and there's one called, can't remember now. But basically, what they've done is they've both basically loaded up with debt and then gave it back to the government to deal with. And that's exactly what we're doing with the stadium. We are basically loaded up with debt, and then we want basically the Manchester area and the local government and central to basically fund the stadium, and that's exactly that. It's just sad to say, for the benefit of United, in the long term, Arsenal need a light 6-1 against United in the first game. Now we're left with overflowing sewage. Agreed. I'll come back to that, Mark. Exactly. If we don't have the players for the system, then he has to go, because he will only play the system. Exactly that. So Delo, Bruno, Onana, Hoyland will play. If so, sack him now. If Delo is the only one I would, at a pinch, say he's okay. But if those 4 players are in that Arsenal game, then he's got different players that he can play now in that game. Not many, but he doesn't have to play those players. If he does, and we lose 6-1, to go back to your first point, then my opinions, I don't want my opinions to turn quickly, but we're in a results-based game, and for all my slight defending of him in terms of he's not had his players X, Y, Z, I can't use that excuse forever. He can't use that excuse forever. And if he's not got the players to play the system, then change the system. Like, I don't want him to. I want us to maintain and keep his system. But if he can't do it, then we're going to have a change, aren't we? 4 points from the first 5. I think I said around that as well. Agree with you on that. I'm thinking 2. Again, I think 4, but nothing would surprise me with this team. Chief says, goldfish ain't relevant to me personally. I'd rather listen to real fans, not double agents who collab with rivals for clout. Again, I can't comment on that. It wouldn't be fair for me to comment on that. But I think what one thing I will say here, which what I'll always try to do is it's what I say will always be as honest as I can be, because I try and be as honest as I can. And that's what I like about this chat as well, is we're very honest, very open, don't hold back, and that's where we need to be. That's why I think this chat, for me, is one of the best. I think this chat is the best. The more people that get into it, respect the chat, the better. I'm actually up for sacking him now. Let's get someone else and see. And this is what I mean, Nish fan, right? Is that we have our chats here, right? And we come in with with our view and opinion. Okay, and I'm relatively strong in my opinion. I do try to be a little bit pragmatic sometimes on the fence, but I like to try to survey everything before I sort of come down on something. And niche fans come in, and you maybe had your opinions changed, and that's a good thing. We're like having this debate, and the more that I talk to you guys, and the more facts you bring into me, because there's things that I don't necessarily think about. I before I started to do this channel, I was probably really hammering in. I was just like, no, he's not had his players, and no, we need to defend him. But the more this window's gone on, the more I've talking to other fans and more that I've spoken to you guys, I'm swaying. I'm swaying to that side whereby if he has a rough 5 games, then I'm not on board with it. I can't support it. I don't want another manager sacked. I don't want him sacked. But we may be forced into a situation whereby I'll be comfortable then if he gets spanked for 5 games. I'm comfortable. Well, he's not the guy, is he? We've also got to be open to the fact that he may not be the guy. And this is where I'm at on it now. Is he the guy? I get these players are not great, but is he also the guy? And we're going to really quickly find that out. Chief says if we sack him now, and Burma and Cunha probably will be, the heck did we join? Do you know what? I think they think that now, mate. I mean, surely they trust his system, so let's wait and watch. Otherwise, bring in a new guy, new system, same team. But again, is that a letdown? Of this club is the more we keep shifting, so the more we keep going, right, let's play this system, X system, Y system, blah, blah, and we're bringing all these players, we are eventually going to go down. We need a style of play. And so said, look, this is where we are. I don't mind somebody that wants to come in and change it a little bit, but he's trying to go from what we've always been to this different club, and that's Ineos. That's Ineos and the Glazers trying to do things in a different way. And trying to do things in a way that's not us, and it's the fans that get punished, because ultimately, Glazers and the Ineos may think they own it, but they're not. They are custodians. They're custodians over this club, and eventually, it's going to come back to us. Football results is a results business. Mark, I agree with you on that one, buddy. It is a results business, whether I like it or not, whether. And that can go both ways, right? So if you're hammering out as Mark is, and that's perfectly fine, and I'm hammering in on the fencer, if Amorim loses the first 5 games, first 5, 6, 7, 8 games, then he has to go. But whether I'm happy with that or not, conversely, if he wins the first 5 games, 5, 8 games, then maybe Mark would have to go, well, actually, I don't like him. He's not my coach, but he's won the first 8 games, so I've got to give him another 8 games, right? So it's almost like it is a results business, 100%, and the results can go bad or good. But what I don't want to happen is I don't want him to win. Say he beats Arsenal, goes and loses 2-3 games, beats Chelsea, then loses to City, then draws against Liverpool. I don't want to be seen this survival drawing rubbish football. I want to be seen, look, is he good or bad? I don't want this drawing. You lose one game, might win the next game. Liverpool, he could win that game, say, lose against Brighton. I don't want to see that. What does that show us? It shows us absolutely nothing. What I want to see is I either want to know whether if a Mark Harris is right or a niche fan is right, and do you know what? He's not good enough. We may not necessarily want him sacked as such, but he's got to go. Like, he's got to go because his result. But I just don't want to see this middle of the road, mid-table crap. We either go down with a blaze of glory. I want to see us bring in some youth. I'm not saying overplay them. Just bring them into the squad. Get rid of the crap. Get rid of the Luke Shaws. Bring in the Amas, the Kones, like whoever else. Bring them in. Give them a run in the team, and then do you know what? I'd rather go down fighting than rather mid-table nonsense football, mid-table Southgate football. sorry, Niche fan. I can't. Niche fan, I respect you, my friend. You've come on here, mate, and you're now becoming a legend of the chat. Southgate's a no from me. I think I'd rather have anybody else than. I think I'd rather bring Ollie back than Southgate. But I am not going to rule you out. If Amorim gets sacked, mark Southgate as a replacement, even if it's short term. I think Southgate will have an impact on that. Chief Evans, I've got to agree. I'm on the fence with Amorim. Watching United now is like hoping for Hamilton to prosper with a crappy lemon made by Ferrari. It is almost like it is hope. It's hope. But I think we'll soon find out. So yeah. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. We've done an hour and a half tonight. I did do a little bit of a longer show on purpose because I didn't do one, and I know how much you miss me. I didn't want to not do a show today. I honestly I didn't do one today, and I was starting to miss this already. It's amazing when you do something that you're passionate about, and then you talk to other people who are equally as passionate about you. Other people who are as equally as passionate about something, and whether we agree or not, which I think is the best thing, is if we all agreed, then what's the point, right? Even if there are little differences, we may agree on big things or not, but I really enjoy that. I also really enjoy is people coming into the chat, asking something stupid and not following it up with. But anyway, yeah, but cheers for the stream. I'm going to go back and watch the press conference again. Oh, Niche fan, don't put yourself through it, mate. She said, I love your content. Got to start turning on some notifications. Chief, please do, my friend. Any notifications if you are watching, you've not been here before. We do things slightly different here. I will try to keep consistent with my opinions. That I'm telling you now, it's worth coming here just for the chat. It's worth coming here just to get interactive with people like Chief Niche Fan, Mark Harris, Bobby when he's in the chat as well. Who else is in here today? I got to say, big up to all you guys. I mean, Rob's in the chat today. So Bobby's normally in there as well. Tulip plays in there today. I mean, I just even say just honestly, just come here for the chat. And when I say this, I really, really mean this. Like, I feel so lucky for you to give me your time. I mean, you've given me your time tonight, and I can't ask for a greater gift than that. And I know it sounds corny and all that sort of stuff, but generally mean that. Like, you give me your time is a gift, right? You can't buy that. You can't buy time. So honestly, thank you so much. Cheers, Rob. Cheers, Mike. Have a great weekend. Don't be too depressed. That's why they make P45s. I may be back tomorrow. I don't know, but I'll be doing a watch along midnight here, so you might be asleep and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm going to do it and watch that game so I can report back to you on Monday morning. So yeah, have a good rest of your day, evening, night, whatever you do. Thank you so much for being here. I can't express that enough. Like, favorite, subscribe, pass it on, post it out there. Let's get more conversation. Just keep on at this club. And yeah. So guys, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, evening, morning, and